Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Today we'll be working on SaturnCI as usual. Um, I'll share my screen and share what we're up to this time. So, um, last time, what I worked on was, if I start a new build here, I added a count up timer. It starts from 0-ish and then runs the clock while the build is running. But this feature is kind of incomplete because when the build finishes, nothing happens. It just stays at running and the clock keeps going. So what I want to do now is make it so that when the build finishes, running just automatically updates to past. And I actually already have the beginnings of a test for this, which I'll show you. So this is a test file that I already had. This test here already existed. It asserts that when you're on a build that was previously running and you like do a full page refresh, that the status goes from running to past. But actually, come to think of it, this test is going to be obsolete because that was just kind of a placeholder. Like the really rough version of the behavior was you could refresh the page and the build would go from running to past. But we don't want that. We just want it to automatically go from running to past. And so this other test would be redundant. So I deleted that one. Here's the new
So,
one.
so the
Yeah, go ahead.
previous ones where it is showing the green and the time duration, that's because the page has got refreshed one way or the other. Is that so?
Yeah. So here
Ah,
we're
okay.
visiting the build, then we're kind of manually updating the build status to finished, and
Okay.
then we're just visiting the same page again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So here we're starting the same. We're visiting the build. Um, and then we're doing kind of like I'm sure you remember, Sanjit, our HTTP requests from these tests regarding the system log. We had made this like helper here.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's this fairly specific helper where we make a request to the system logs to simulate the build machine sending the system logs to the Saturn CI platform. And then we have this more general HTTP request helper that just sends any kind of HTTP request we want with the right headers, the authorization headers in place so that it's valid. The request is valid. So I'm making use of that here in this new test. Um, but I'm sending the request to the test suite finished events controller. So this is when the virtual machine that runs the builds, it will, when the test suite is finished, it'll send this request to this finished events controller. And I'm realizing something. Um, I've changed the architecture of this app a little bit since the beginning. It started where there was only a concept of a build, and that's all. But then I added parallelism, and now each build has multiple jobs. And so I don't know if this test suite finished event thing even makes sense anymore, or if it's even used. So let's actually take a look at that. Okay, so this API endpoint is being used, but I don't think it makes complete sense because now for each of the two jobs that run, it's sending a test suite finished. Oh, no, that makes sense. The test suite finishes on each job. Okay, yeah. That actually does make sense. Okay. Although maybe it should say job finished. Maybe that should be the event. I think that should be what the event is called. Okay. Well, that is not a prerequisite to doing what we're doing right now, but maybe let's circle back right after and rename this to job finished, because obviously that like tripped me up a little bit. Okay. Let's see. So here we're just calling the test suite finished endpoint on a particular job. We need all of the build's jobs to be finished. I think this job in this test is the only job for its build, so I think we're good there. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to run this test, and I expect that it will fail because, yeah, expected to find past, and there is no past. And I want to do a little experiment here just to see if everything's working as I think it is. Oh, it didn't. Oh, okay. I got to put the pry right there. Okay. So if I refresh, if the test is working right, we'll see this go from running to finished. Okay, and it didn't, so I'm glad I checked. Okay.
So isn't that because that one is still running that it didn't update?
It's not that it's still running.
Oh,
It just says that it's still running.
okay,
Or,
okay.
I mean, it could be that it's still running because I made a mistake,
Mm,
but it still shows the counting even if the job is finished, just because. Oh, wait, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know. Okay, let's see what the deal is with this job. Is it finished? Okay, the job is finished. Job.build.finished at. Okay, the build is not finished. So job.build.jobs.count. Okay, there's just one. Job.build.jobs.all finished. Okay, interesting. Okay, and now that we reload it, it does have a finished at. Okay. Job.build.status. Running. Okay. What determines the job status?
mm. Is the issue more like that the status is not getting updated correctly? Is that the problem? As in, I mean, job.build.status, that not.
Yeah, that's not getting updated for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Okay, job.running. Okay, job.id. Yeah, okay, so when we say get me all the running jobs, this job is included in that list. Oh, because the test report is null. Okay. Well, this seems kind of fragile. Like is hmm like what actually determines whether the test is finished? Okay, so it says the job is finished, yet it also says the job is running. So this is inconsistent. So I think I created kind of a dumb situation here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stash all these changes. And before I do anything to do with making the status update, I'm going to clean up my logic around this stuff because I don't think it makes complete sense. Okay. So my running scope again goes off of test report, but finished goes off of test suite finished. Yeah. And just curious, is this finished code older than the scope? I did the scope, I last touched it in March. This one here, oh, sorry, this one here, I last touched it in January. Yeah, the running thing is new, the finished thing is older. Okay, so let's not go off this test suite finished event or finished. Let's instead go off of the presence of the test report. Let's see, job events. Okay. Um, test report dot present. Okay. Let's see if that makes any tests fail. Okay, apparently it does. At least two. Okay. Test suite finished events and job spec. Okay, line 33. Okay. Um, so this is the test suite finished events test. It's a request spec. In the scenario where all the jobs have finished, it sets the build's finished at value. And this error is saying compared using equal, which compares object identity, line 39. Okay. Expecting finished at not to be nil. But it's talking about equal, which I'm a little confused by. If I comment this line, does that error go away? Okay, it does. Okay, so when I hit this, we're expecting finished at not to be nil. Let's open the test suite finished events. You know what? This is even confusing me now. This test suite finished event, again, it should be called job finished event. So let's
Yeah,
fix that even
yeah.
before this other thing. Um, let's do this. Okay, so I'll rename test suite started and test suite finished to job started and job finished. Okay. Okay, and of course this should change from test suite finished events controller to job finished events controller. Okay, and there's a matching test, I believe. Okay, then I'll rename this file. Hey, by the way, oh, okay, hang on a second. Oh, maybe I need to rename a route. Okay, that passed. I was gonna say a big reason a lot of applications are so hard to understand isn't just because the code is messy, it's because the ideas in the system are sloppy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and right now I have a sloppy idea. I'm being sloppy about um this concept of a job or a build finishing, and I need to get these sloppy ideas straightened out so the system is easier to understand. Okay, looks like we have some instances of test suite finished in the test suite here. Okay, looks like that's all good. Gonna review my changes real quick. No surprises. Okay, rename test suite finished to job finished. Okay, so I don't even remember what I was doing before I interrupted myself with that. Oh yeah, I was cleaning up, trying to clean up this sloppiness. So after having seen all that, maybe it's actually not great to go off a test report. Maybe we should go by the job finished at, or build finished at rather. Or no, job, sorry, which one was it? Okay, the job finished event. That's what I want. Okay. Okay. Maybe I want to find the job status spec if there is one. There's a build status spec. Yeah, I don't think I should have to worry about the test report in this test. Only finished at. Okay, so this test fails if test report is absent and passes if it's present. Okay, so let's change this to go off of test report. So a job is running if it doesn't have a job finished event. Okay. And out of laziness, I'm going to let ChatGPT write this query for me. Let's see. Job. Where are these events? Maybe it's job event. Yeah. I'm also going to show ChatGPT my schema. Change the running scope so it goes off of the presence of a job finished event. Okay. Let's see how ChatGPT did. Where job events is null or the type is not equal to finished. Yeah. Okay. That seems good. Let's run this test, but I want to take this out. Something's apparently wrong with this query. Can't join job to association names jobs. Oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. I think I just want that. Okay. Didn't get any errors, but the test didn't pass. Yeah, actually, maybe this shouldn't matter. Okay. What does the status go off of? Okay, return running unless jobs.any. What's the logic behind that? Oh, if there are no jobs, then return running. Okay. Okay. If there are no jobs, return running. Oh, okay. And if there are any failed jobs, yeah, I see. We return running if there are any jobs that are still running. No, we return running if there are no jobs at all. Okay. Um, return failed if there are any failed jobs. Passed if there are if all the jobs are passed. Okay. So the build would be showing running if there are jobs, but they're not all passed. Got it. Okay. I don't know what I think about all this.
Slightly tricky to read, isn't it?
Yeah, and it seems like there should be exactly one way to determine if a job or a build is finished. Like it should all go off of the same factors.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like it should either be that a job is finished by virtue of the fact that it's by virtue of the fact that it has a job finished event. Eh, I'm not sure how to put it, but it should all go off the same factors. Because if there are like two independent things that can change, and like some places go off of one factor, other places go off of another factor, then that's going to be confusing. Well, let's see. Each job can pass or fail or be running. And then the build should be, it's like if there are any failed jobs, the build should be failed. If all the jobs are passed, the build should be passed. And I guess like finished or not finished is independent of the status. Like it kind of has multiple statuses. I guess like passed or failed isn't really a status, it's a result. Hmm.
Hmm. True.
Yeah, so maybe I'm even being sloppy about this.
Yeah, we need to split it out, isn't it,
Yeah, maybe. And why are we interested in this? We're interested because we want to update the status when the status changes. Specifically, we want to update the status of the build when the status of the build changes. Okay. And the status of the build can change when the status of one of its jobs changes. Okay. When the status of one of its jobs changes. Okay. So this test that's failing right now, we just want to change the build's status. Um, and maybe this would be clearer. No, never mind. Okay. We want to make all the jobs passed. Okay. And apparently a job is passed if a test report's content doesn't include failed. Okay. Okay, and I'm actually going to undo all this. And I'm just curious, where do we use this running scope? Oh, here and only here. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So it's passed if the test report doesn't include failed. And if the test report is empty, then it's still running. Otherwise, it's failed. Interesting. it seems like it should be running instead, again, if it doesn't have the job finished event. Hmm. And it seems maybe more natural instead of a running scope to have a finished scope. And here we say job events type equals job finished. We don't even need to do a left joins. And so here it's running if the list of finished jobs does not include itself. Yeah, and here I feel like we should say okay, and I'm actually going to make a different method here. Oh, we already have a finished method. Okay. Yeah, and this should be that should be exactly what it is. Actually, no, I think it'll be easier to understand if we do that. That way everything's going through the same place. I'm going to put this down below here. Okay, and we can also even do this. Whoops. Okay, so we return running if it's not finished. We return passed if it's finished and not failed. Otherwise, return failed.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Now, let me run the whole test suite and see if that messed anything up. Okay, a bunch of stuff fails. Not too surprising. Okay, start at the beginning here. Job spec, line 14. Oh, that passes. Oh, it's a different job spec. Okay. API v1 job spec. Okay, what's going on here? Undefined method running for job class. Okay. I must be in the wrong one. API v1 jobs controller. Yeah, there we go. So it shows all the running jobs. We don't want to exactly want to express it that way. Or maybe we want to do this. We want everything that's not finished. Is that exactly true? We want everything. Yeah, we want everything that's not finished. For the running scope, we want everything that's not in the finished scope. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Still have at least one failure, at least 4 failures. Okay. Build status spec. Okay. Now, um, job event. Yeah, I think we're missing a job event of finished. So do we have a job status spec? No. Job spec, maybe it's in there. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see if that makes it pass. Okay, it does make it pass, but that doesn't necessarily mean that this test is what we want. Hmm. Do we need this build finished at? I don't think we do. Or at least I don't think we should. Okay. The build should be finished if all the jobs are passed. Shouldn't need this finished at. So that's kind of surprising.
How will the build know that all the jobs are finished?
By virtue of the fact that all of its jobs have a status of
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, so here it's checking for the build that finished at. Let's not check for that. Um, we want this to change when a job status changes. All right, so I'm gonna show this to ChatGPT and show the jobs, sorry, the build status and the job status. We want the view caching to get invalidated when a build's status changes. We don't want to have to involve build.finished at. Build.status, okay. Okay, so that passes now. Let's see if these other tests were failing for the same reason or not. Okay, apparently not. Okay, running spec, line 17. Okay, so this finished job is this one with this success test report, but that's not what we're going off of anymore. We're going off of having that finished event. I'm going to keep it on 2 lines, 3 lines, whatever. Okay, let's see if that does anything for us. Yep. Okay, now we'll see what else is failing still. Wouldn't be surprised if it's something very similar. Okay, job spec 52. Okay, yep. We're not going off of that anymore. So let me grab the event thing. And 59 was the other one. Okay. Oh, actually, I do still need that. Okay, there we go. Okay. Excuse me. Now let's run all the tests. Yeah, something that I've said before, and I'll say it again many times, is good code is downstream of clear thinking. And for me, up to now, good code was impossible because my job and build status thinking was sloppy. Okay, it's going to take a bit to reload, I guess. Okay, and now finally we can turn our attention back to what we originally wanted. Okay, and not too surprisingly, there's a conflict. Okay, and by the way, it still thinks this test is running, which is surely not accurate, but I'm not going to worry about that right this second. Okay, so here, um, we don't need to worry about any of this. We just want to make this request. And it's not test suite finished events path anymore. It's job finished events path. So we'll see what happens. I would expect that to fail. I'm just curious what's going on with this one. Things appear to be like frozen or something like that. I can't click on any of these tabs for any of the jobs. That's interesting. Okay, Yeah, expected past and didn't find it. We might have to take yet another detour and see why this page is taking so long to load. It's expected that it would take a long time on the first time because it's not cached on the first load. Okay, yeah, still when I click something, when I click any of these other tabs, it doesn't go to it. That is fascinating. Oh, maybe all this content is cached. Let's do something here. Um, Sometimes with this sort of thing, I do a git revert no commit. And we'll see if that makes this issue go away. Yes, it does. So something I did mess something up. I'm guessing it's that build status caching. Let's see what happens if we change only that. Okay, so I've changed nothing but the way that it gets cached. Okay. Yep. And this doesn't work. Interesting. Okay. Well, I wasn't wanting to have to deal with that bug right now, but apparently we do. Okay, and what was that file? Okay, so I don't actually remember even what these arguments mean. So let's find that out. What do the arguments to cache mean? Yeah. Hmm. So I don't understand why going off of status instead of finish for caching would. Oh, okay. So it's not that it's not changing, it's apparently just that it takes a really long time.
So what it is displaying is correct then. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Interesting. It may just be that status is very expensive. Like, let's try this. Or return past. Okay. Yep. So every time one of these pages loads, it has to it has to check the status of all the builds. And that is, again, very expensive to do. Okay, interesting. Hmm. We could potentially do build dot updated at but when the build is updated, it doesn't have anything to do with the status, so that's no good. Um, and we could do job.updated at, but I don't think that has anything to do with the status necessarily either. Oops. Job finished, events controller. Yeah, we just create a job event. We could make it so a job event touches the job. I want to make it so that creating a job event touches a job. And we can make it so touching a job touches the build. Okay, belongs to job touch true. Okay. And actually, let's see, is there a test we can write for this? Um, I don't know. I'm not even going to worry about it. I don't have the brain power for that right now. Um, okay. And then on job, we can say belongs to build touch true. And then here we can just go by build.updated at perhaps. Okay, now if we navigate among these tabs, it's still fast. Um, if we run the tests, do they still pass? Okay, they do. Fix low build caching. Okay, and something else I want to get to the bottom of before I continue is why this job says it's still running, even though it's clearly not. And this job also says it's still running. It doesn't look like it really is either. So let's take a look at each of these things here. Okay, so I'm going to grab this job. Okay, its status is running. Again, it doesn't have a finished event. Let's see something. Job events controller. I suppose it could be, oh, sorry, this isn't it. Job finished events. I suppose it could be that those tests, that those jobs finished back when it was still sending a test suite finished. Oh, no, 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 no. I know what it is. It's still sending this script that runs on the virtual machine is still sending the test suite finished event. It needs to send the job finished event. There we go. Okay. Well, since these are going to be stuck and running forever, I'll just kill them. And my expectation with this one will be that it won't get stuck and running. It'll get marked as passed when it finishes. Okay, now we can finally turn our attention again back to the thing we really wanted to focus on. Okay, build status. Yeah, and this should fail. Yeah. All right. Now we go to this job finished events thing here. I think what we want here, Sanjit, is for this to broadcast a turbo event and for that turbo event to get picked up in the status. Kind of
And
like
you're
our
expecting that will automatically sort of the equivalent of refreshing will happen because of the turbo event. Is that what you're thinking?
exactly.
Okay, okay.
Okay. And kind of like the system logs stuff. So we can actually use that as an example. Okay, yeah. So I remember we had this job output stream object here. So let's look at that. Okay. So we should be able to do something quite similar. Um, so if all the jobs are finished, like we only want to do this in the case that all the jobs are finished, I believe. And by the way, it's so annoying, but we need to detour yet again because, sorry, let's see, job finished controller. I think this finished at thing is irrelevant now. I think we don't want that anymore. Okay, we at least get a failing test. And I don't want that finished at code in there anymore because I don't want to be misled into thinking that it matters. Okay, job finished, line 33. Okay, we're expecting finished at not to be nil. This test can just go because finished at doesn't matter anymore. Okay. And I want to remove that column. Okay. What is it? Remove column. Um, build finished at? Oh, builds. Okay, we'll wrap up in just a second here. Okay. And by the way, it feels like not only annoying, but maybe even like irresponsible to take all these detours. And I think most of the time, most people don't do them. And that's again another part of why so many applications are such a mess. Okay, so let's go to the job finish events controller. And if the jobs are all finished, then we do that broadcast. Okay, but where are we broadcasting it to? Let's see. We can maybe call it build status and then the build ID. Job.build ID. Target. I'm not sure what that will be yet. I'll just put the same thing. Partial. I don't know yet. Actually, I'm just going to make these things blank. Okay, and let's open the template where the status is. List item. Okay. So here's where the status stuff is running and then the time. Yeah. So like this chunk here is the status. So maybe let's actually put that in its own partial. Okay. Okay. And this will like not work, right? Because we're not passing anything to it. So we need to pass at least the build. This is taking a surprisingly long time. Maybe because the cache needed to be rebuilt. If I refresh, will it take a long time again? No. Okay. So it looks like that does work. And in the spirit of atomic commits, let's commit that change just by itself. And I'm going to do this on a new branch. Um, Automatic status update. Okay. So I want to add this status partial and I want to add this. Okay, and what I changed here was I took this chunk out of here and I put it, well, I took it out of here and I put it into here. Okay, so I'm going to commit that by itself so that if there are any issues with that, it's not mixed in with other changes. Move status code into partial. Okay. Okay, so now if we come back to our job finished events controller, I now know that the partial should be build status and the local should be build is job.build. What is the target, though? I'm not sure. Okay. Oh, and we don't need this comment anymore. That was just a reminder for the thing that we're working on right now. Okay. What am I trying to think about right now? Oh yeah, what's the target? Target. Currently have an empty file. Okay. Okay, so here's a different target. This is like the job output stream target. And I think I need to subscribe to this turbo stream also. Okay, this is the build status stream. Okay. And I think what I want to update is this whole thing. So ID, okay. ID equals build status build.id. Okay. Okay, and there's a non-zero chance that that will work, but let's see. Okay. Not surprising that I made a mistake here. Okay. Job line 40. Yep. Build line 25. Yep. So it's looking for the status, but apparently test report is nil. Let's see what happens if we do that. Okay. The test simply fails without errors. Okay. Well, I think we're going to be done in just a second, but let's at least take a look at what's going on here. Okay. So evidently we have sent the request, but nothing has happened. And actually, let's do this. Let's put two binding.pries. One before the event and one after. I'm going to open up the console here. That's not what I wanted. There. Okay. Now I'm going to allow this request to be made. I don't actually see a request here. Okay. Well, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Who knows how long this will take to fix, but it's probably not a 5-second thing. Okay, let's review for a second what we've done today. The main thing was we cleaned up that sloppy build status logic. I think that was the main accomplishment of the day.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a worthwhile accomplishment, and I think it paved the way for the status stuff that we want to do. All right, Sanjeet, thanks for joining me. Dear YouTube viewer, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.